Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. We're going to be talking about some more Kail Lowry drama, some more Kail Lowry news. I did see Kiki where you asked if I covered the mess going on with Kail and Elijah. I did. I talked about that yesterday. That's so sad. That is devastating. I don't even know what to make of that, but I did do a live yesterday where we talked about that. Today, we're going to be talking about Kail Lowry and her ex husband, Javi Marroquin, as he appeared on her podcast, Fairly Famous. The episode dropped today, I think it was, and they revealed some news that is devastating to their son, Lincoln. And I've seen a bunch of people say, like, oh my goodness, he like jumped on the podcast crying, posting this post about how upset he is when literally it's not even that big deal. Like he is so dramatic, la di da di da, which I don't think people really understand. So the news they dropped is that he's going to be moving away. Is that Javi is in the military? There's a lot of people that don't even know that Javi has a job. There's people that literally think that he like lived off Kail being on Team Mom and that he built whatever he has off her. That's actually not the case. He's actually was in the military before he like I think before he met Kail, he was in the military and he has maintained a job, a career in the military. So his 3 year whatever was coming up, and he knew he was going to have to relocate. So that's the news that they dropped is that he's going to be relocating, and where he's relocating will be like 5 hours away from where he lives now. And a lot of people's like, oh my goodness, that's not even a big deal. But really, it is because, and we're going to get into all the nitty gritty of it. I'm going to read an article and then I'm going to play some of the clips from her podcast where they talk about this because Kail and Javi, clearly, they're getting along better now than they were for him to be on the podcast because we know there's been times throughout since they split up to where they were so much on odds that they were bashing each other, that she would talk about him on her podcast, he would make a post about her, whatever. So there's been some times that they were at odds. So to see him on her podcast, we all knew like, okay, they must be doing better. But he comes on the podcast to, talk about how he's going to be moving and also to talk about how the news of him moving and his decision to tell Lincoln how that actually kind of brought them back a little bit, like a few steps back, because they were actually getting along fine. They went to Madrid, and that's because Javi's son Lincoln, the son that they share together, and then his son Elijah got picked to play like soccer in Madrid. So Kail, Elijah, and their kids went, and so did Javi and Lauren and their children. They all went, and Kail and as Kail and Javi actually talk on the podcast, saying like up until that point, like they were just like surface level communication, only in regards to Lincoln. It was emails. She did not talk to Lauren. Javi had never really spoke to Elijah much, but on that vacation, they were kind of forced to be around each other, and they kind of built like this little bit of a bond. Javi talks about how during this vacation, him and Elijah like was playing sports with the boys, like playing sports, playing soccer with the boys, and that gave Lauren and Kail time to hang out and talk. So this trip kind of pulled them together to be, where they were on good terms. However, when news came up of him moving and he shared that with Lincoln, that caused them some issues. And we're going to get into all of that. I'm going to read this article. But I will say to the people that thinks this is dramatic and that Javi is being dramatic by how upset he is over this, just think about this. Javi and Kail had 50-50 custody of Lincoln. Lincoln lives with Javi a week on, week off. So he's at Kail's for a week. He goes to Javi's for a week. He's at Kail's for a week. He's at Javi's for a week. They don't live that far apart from each other. His dad is extremely involved in everything that he does. Like Javi is the coach to the sports that he plays. He's super involved with his son. Him moving meant that there would be no more 50-50 in regards to week on, week off. It would go from someone would have him during school, the whole year during school, and the other person would have him during the summer, and they would alternate holidays. It would completely change the life that Lincoln has known his entire life. That's been his entire life. Week on, week off, week on, week off. And he's always lived in Delaware. So this is a big change for him. So when I saw people commenting about how Bobby was being dramatic, I'm like, this is his son whose his whole life is about to change. This is going to affect Javi. It's going to affect Kail. It's going to affect Lincoln, who is going from seeing both of his parents, spending that time with them week on, week off, and having his dad there for all of the sports that he's a part of, and not only being there for the sports, but being his coach, to now his dad is 5 hours away, to where he probably will never make it to another game that he plays unless he can jump on a flight and get there. So this is devastating. I think the people that thinks that he's being dramatic just really doesn't understand the dynamic they have and the life that they've lived, and how he has been so involved in Lincoln's life. So this is devastating for Lincoln, devastating for Isaac, devastating for Kail. Not Isaac, Javi. I don't know why I keep wanting to call Javi Isaac, but devastating for Kail too, because Kail said, like, I want you to be in his life. Like, I don't want his life to change. Kail lives in Delaware. Yeah. She does live in Delaware. So we're going to read this article from the Ashley, and then actually we'll play this really quickly. This is from Kail's Instagram. Can you guys hear this? Let me know.
Before we even went to mediation, was I struggle with, I told you, your career. Mm-hmm. So like the way the custody is written out here is you'll have them school year. I don't know if you want to talk details, but you'll have them,
you're fine.
You'll have them school year. Mm-hmm. I'll have them summer, and then all the holidays. And
okay, so basically that's what he was saying. You'll have him during the school year, and I'll have him during the summer. So he's going to promote the podcast. He may, I don't know, maybe Kail was like, I'll pay you if you want to come. Like, I'll pay you to do it, whatever. I don't know. But I do think this is a big deal for them. We're going to read this article, and then, wow, that just skipped to her and Becky. Becky Boolicious. All right. We're going to, you know what? Let's go right here. This is Javi's little.
You, Lauren, myself, and Elijah are solid enough to be doing this.
That makes it a lot more peaceful when we're not coming at each other's necks.
For people who have watched Teen Mom, they know that the dynamics between myself and Javi and myself and Lauren and Javi have been a little rocky, I would say. We sort of, I don't want to say went at it, because I don't think we argued about it, but it was definitely.
We went at it.
Did we?
We went at it.
Okay.
It's going to.
So this is her saying, like, when the news came up that he had to move, and when he decided to tell Lincoln, she was like, I don't think we went at it. He was like, no, yeah, we went at it, because he ended up telling Lincoln when they agreed not to tell Lincoln, is what it seems. I'm going to read this article. Then we're going to listen to some parts of the podcast. Okay. So I'm reading from the Ashley really quickly, just kind of give a rundown of exactly what's going on. It says Kail Lowry reunites with ex Javi Marroquin for podcast to reveal that Javi has to move away. Javi calls Kail's frequent jokes about their Wawa situation disrespectful. They did address the Wawa on the podcast. We're not going to listen to that bit of it, but they did address that. So Kail and Javi reunited this week to record an episode of Kail's Barely Famous podcast, during which they revealed an update regarding the co-parenting situation for their son, Lincoln, who is 11. While Kail and Javi's co-parenting relationship has had its ups and downs, many downs over the years, the two shocked many Teen Mom fans this week when they revealed that they were dropping a podcast episode together, suggesting that they were back on good terms with one another, though also hinting that they would be dropping some big news. Kail and Javi not only teased a big announcement in the social media video promoting the episode, Javi posted a picture of him, like in a sauna, on his Instagram story the day before, telling fans that it's been an emotional morning. So he's in a sauna. He looks kind of sad. And it says, been an emotional morning, but good friends going through it to remind you everything's going to be okay. During the podcast episode, Javi revealed that he is a recruiter for the United States Air Force, that he is now being stationed in Virginia. And as a result, will be moving out of Delaware this summer. As we all know, Kail lives in Delaware with Lincoln, her fiance Elijah, and her 6 other children. Javi also resides in Delaware near Kail with his fiance Lauren and their kids. Currently, Lincoln splits his time 50-50 with each parent. But with Javi moving over 5 hours away, the 11-year-old will see his father much less than he is used to. While discussing the upcoming move, Javi revealed that he had a few options as to where he could go. But after talking to Lauren, they agreed that Virginia was probably the best case scenario, as it would put him as it would at least put him within driving distance to Lincoln. He stated that if he passed on taking the assignment in Virginia, he could have been forced to take an assignment that put him much further away from Delaware. Kail has 3 kids with Elijah. So Javi explained, it was, hey, take Virginia, or when your time does come up to relocate, when your 3-year mark hits, you may just get whatever's on the table, and it may be something much further away. During the episode, Kail acknowledged that over the years, the dynamics between her and Javi and herself and Lauren have been a little rocky. Kail and Javi said that despite their past, the exes hit a little bit of a turning point for their relationship as parents last year when both of their families traveled to Spain for Lincoln and Eli to play soccer. Not Elijah, Eli, Javi's other son. Despite this, Kail still asked Javi if his upcoming move was in any way motivated by their past. She's like, you sure you're not taking this assignment to get a little bit further away from me? And he's like, not at all. She said, was this decision influenced at all by creating more distance between you and me, or Elijah and myself and you and Lauren? Which, like I said, Javi was like, no. He said it's strictly professional. I mean, the military has done so many good things for us. It pays for Lincoln's health insurance. It will pay for some of his school when he gets there. I've been in for 12 years. I worked too hard to get to where I'm at as far as rank and all of that for where I'm sitting at the table. And I'm really good at it. Later confirming on the podcast that he plans to spend a full career of 20 years in the military. As far as how the move will impact their co-parenting, Kail and Javi revealed that their son will continue living with Kail during the school year and will spend the summer with Javi. They also noted that the decision would be revisited in a year, at which point whatever Lincoln says is what they will agree on. Like if in a year Lincoln decides he wants to live with his dad during the school year and go to Kail during the summer, then that's what they'll do. Kail noted during the episode that in a perfect world, Lincoln would split his time evenly between both parents until he graduates high school. Both she and Javi also stated that Lincoln was conflicted by what's going on, with both agreeing that nobody wins in this situation. Kail said, me getting the school year with Lincoln is not a win. And I know you might view it differently, but it's not a win. It's not a win for neither of us. And it's not a win for the siblings. And it's not a win for Lincoln. Kail and Javi also revealed that they both got emotional at the mediation concerning this situation. After Javi admitted that he would like to get Lincoln out of Delaware, Kail took a moment to remind Javi that him getting stationed in Delaware years ago is what ultimately brought her to the state, as well as Joe, as well as Joe's wife, V, as well as other members of the family. Because Kail and Javi were together, they moved to Delaware for Javi's military career, and Joe and V followed, and then more of their family, V's parents lived there, some of V's other relatives lived there. They all followed. Kail stated, I think us coming to Delaware has spider webbed into something so much bigger that none of us can control. I don't make my day-to-day decisions off of you and Lauren, and I don't make my day-to-day decisions off you and Joe, off Joe and V, and vice versa. Like, I don't. I can't expect you guys to make your decisions off of us. But I think there's something to be said about what we have created. And this is like the spider web. So if you pull on the spider web on one side, the entire web is going to have a ripple effect. Because we moved here, then Joe moved here, his mom moved here, V moved here for Joe, V's sister just moved here. So there are so many layers to this, and I don't think it's anybody's fault. So while Kail summed up her and everyone else's Delaware resident status as part of the circumstances of life and what was necessary for Javi to progress in his career, she also admitted that the situation sucks because the rest of us don't have the option to relocate. She said, I would have left a long time ago if it was up to me because my career could soar in Atlanta, Texas, California, New York, but I don't have a choice. You get a choice of leaving and we don't. So that's sort of where it gets tricky. I hear you when you say you want to get Lincoln out of here, but at the same time, Lincoln doesn't know any different. He was born here, he was raised here. On Friday, Javi took to Instagram to explain to fans why he decided to open up about his upcoming move on Kail's podcast, claiming it was a way for both parties to communicate and explain why we came to the decision that we did. All right, I'll put this up on the screen really quickly if you guys can see it. All right, so this is what Javi posted to his page yesterday. If you're reading this, my guess is you've listened to the podcast episode. I was able to hide these emotions because no one knew, and it almost didn't feel real. I knew it wasn't something we could hide forever. So I thought going on the pod was the best way for both parties to communicate and explain why we came to the decision that we came to. I had a lot more to say, but I couldn't get my thoughts and words to line up right now. Tears rolled down my face knowing how real it feels now. There's no winning. I don't win. Kail doesn't win. Lincoln doesn't win. One thing I know for sure, Lincoln will never have to question who I am as a dad. And the only thing between us now are the miles we have to drive to see each other. Everything's going to be okay. And heart sign, signed Javi. It's literally so sad. I know other people thinks that it's crazy, but I do see it as sad. During the podcast, Javi also addressed his dislike of Kail's tendency to joke about the Wawa. I'm not going to, everybody knows about the Wawa. While Javi and Kail didn't mention what the specific Wawa related joke that Kail had made, they didn't. I'm reading an article, but what he said was, y'all will joke about the Wawa all the time, and it's still offensive to me. Like, anytime you bring up the Wawa, it affects me. It affects Lauren. So it wasn't even to mention a specific joke. It was just like, anytime you bring this up, it bothers me. Kail said, for me, it's a running joke, and I hear about it constantly. No, this is what Javi said. He said, for me, it's a running joke, and I hear it constantly from you, from your friends. It's funny for you, but for me, that caused a lot of pain. That caused a lot of pain in my life, between us, in my personal life, with my family. So to hear it constantly coming from you, I just feel like it's disrespectful to me. So anytime I hear those types of jokes, I'm just like, dang, you may not specifically be shooting them at me, but it sparks the outside world into remembering. This is still funny, or that Javi did this years ago. He added, this is behind me. I did all this work to get it behind me. So stuff like that frustrates me. I took myself out of the TV world for so long, and it just sucks. Kail said that she never intended for the jokes to be a dig at Javi or at Lauren, and she didn't realize that it still upset them. She said, we are very much going to be downplaying all the Wawa stuff. So that's out. I definitely don't want to disrespect you in any way. Now that I know that it bothers you, I'm not going to participate in Wawa jokes moving forward. You have my word on that. And so does Lauren and everyone else in this room. Moving forward, I won't speak about the Wawa. Okay, so now we're going to listen to some clips from the podcast where they talk more about, because I guess he found out about this some time ago. Some time ago, he found out about the relocation. And he told Kail, like, hey, I'm going to have to relocate around this time. Nothing else was said about it for a while, so she put it in the back of her brain. And then it came up again, like, hey, got to relocate. This is where we're going to be moving to. And I guess they decided not to tell Lincoln at the time, like, hey, let's not tell Lincoln right now. However, as time went on, he decided to tell Lincoln. So he messaged Kail and was like, I'm going to tell Lincoln. He tells Lincoln. Kail got really upset about that because she was like, I want us to decide what we're going to do, and then we will tell him together. So we are like this united front. And so he doesn't feel like he has to choose between us. Like if we're like, hey, you can live with me during the school year and then your dad during the summer, and then the next you can switch it up. Like if we come to him with that already, he doesn't feel like he has to choose. But if you tell him, like, hey, I'm going to be moving to Virginia, do you want to live with me? Then he's going to feel like he has to choose. And that's what happened. Lincoln, when he was with Javi, he would tell Javi, I want to live with you. I want to live with you during the school year. But then when he would be with Kail, he would tell Kail, no, I want to live with you during the school year. So he was telling them both that he wanted to, and maybe, that's probably how he really feels. He's like, no, I'm going to both of you out. But he was very conflicted with letting the other parent down. So they went to mediation. They ended up having to go before a judge to figure out kind of what to do with this. And the judge kind of scolded Javi about telling Isaac. And they talk about that. They talk about how the judge, Javi's like, dude, that judge just like scolded me, and made me feel defeated, made me feel so bad. And he says that he remembers leaving court that day and calling Lauren and just being so upset about it, feeling like I can't fight this. Like I'm gonna have the judge is gonna be on Kail's side. We're just gonna have to go with him living with her during the school year and then with me during the summer because that's what he's telling her he wants. He's telling me something different, but I don't want to spend all this money on fighting this when maybe this is really what he wants. And then the judge ruled in her favor anyways. But we're gonna listen to some of the podcasts. Let me back it up to 1:30. You guys let me know if you can hear.
Been in the military for 13 years,
12
years.
Yep.
So you joined in what year?
2012, December of 2012.
Okay. And then from there, you got stationed in Delaware.
Yep.
She brought this up first. She's like, I think it's really funny that people think that we don't have like legitimate jobs. She's like, but you legit have like a job. Lauren was in the background.
And that's how we ended up here in Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to get out.
I do not.
It's going to be a full career and
yeah, I've worked too hard and I got 8 years left till my retirement. So I think I've made it far enough where I kind of have to ride it out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I understand that, but there are people who think that you don't work.
Yeah, there's people that don't even know I'm still in the military.
Yeah. What do you react to comments like that, or do you just kind of let it roll off?
I don't care.
Do people in the military react to you having been on TV?
My friends, I mean, they crack jokes here and there, but they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been so far, I don't even know. Because I'm in a whole new career than when I started.
Oh, okay.
When I first went. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so.
And then you being in Delaware for as long as we have is sort of unheard of, or what do you? Because I think what the stigma is, or what people know about the military, is that a lot of people move all the time, and it's usually like a 2-year rotation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're stationed somewhere for 2 years, you move, so on and so forth.
Yeah. My first 6 years were active duty, and then I got out because I didn't want to move. In that time, I opened up the gym, and then I went into the reserve side of the house. And then a guy that came to my gym, he offered me a job back in active duty, and he was like, "I can put you can stay here in Delaware." So I was like, "Okay, can't pass that up." And then since then, from year 6 to 12 now, I've exhausted all my positions in Delaware that I could take and stay here.
And what's the difference between active duty and reserves?
Active duty was full-time and reserve is part-time, essentially.
So you went from full-time to part-time to full-time again?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. But you worked pretty much every job you possibly can in Delaware. So now what did they do? They came to you and they were like, it's time for you to go? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, they would have. They would have said, hey, it's time. If you want to stay in this, so I'm recruiting now. So if you want to stay in recruiting, stay in this job, you need to grow and you can't do the same. Basically, we're all capped out. So once you're in this job, you're capped out at 3 years. That's when I was started in Dover. I was like, okay, well, can I take the Newark spot? Newark, Delaware, for those that don't know. They gave me Newark, and now I'm capped out here. So there's no other place, no other job I can
So
kind of jump
even
to.
if a recruiter does a good job in the area they're at, they still have to move.
Yes.
Why?
Because if you're doing a good job in this area, they want to see you grow. Okay, well, go do it over here.
Okay. So we talked, I think last year at this point, or I guess it would have been the year before. I don't really remember. And we talked and you were like, hey, like, I think it's about to be that time where we're going to have to move.
Yeah.
And I had said that depending on where you went, that I would attempt to try to go as well, because I couldn't picture a life for Lincoln any other way than 50-50.
Mhm.
So at that time, I didn't know if I thought it was real or if it was like, oh, you guys have decided that you want to move. I didn't really know what that looked like. And then you and I didn't talk about it again for a long time. So I just sort of put it in the back of my mind and never thought about it again. So
Really quickly, Bree, you deleted. Okay. One of the mods, Bree, accidentally deleted a comment. She put in there like, "Hey, I accidentally deleted a comment. My apologies." It was Christine Coles, and she said, "Sounds fine." Christine, you didn't say anything wrong. It was an accident. My husband's really bad about doing that. If you get timed out and you said nothing wrong, it's more than likely an accident, because if the chat's moving fast, I'm gonna explain this really quickly. But the chat's like like how you guys see it, we're seeing it too. And like for one of us to like remove a comment, we have to like hold our finger on it, and then options pop up, and we have to hit like hide. So like if it moves, it may do the wrong person. So Bree pointed it out, so I just wanted to like let you guys know it was an accident. She didn't mean to. Let's continue. Also, I wanted to address this comment. Jackie says, "Oh, Jackie says we go new orders every 3 years because we have kids. They give you an extra year at one place, but we were active duty and did different jobs, so we had to try to get dual orders." Oh wow. Someone brought okay. I found it interesting that Isaac wasn't brought up at all about his relationship with Lincoln. Are you saying like you think it's interesting that Hobby only talked about Lincoln and how this would affect Lincoln, and not how him moving would affect his relationship with Isaac? Is that what you were saying? Because Javi and Isaac don't have that close relationship anymore. Like they did for a little bit after him and Kail split, but they don't have it like they used to anymore. They have talked about that. They said like they don't have that close bond like they used to, and that's sad. It really is. But he does, Isaac has a very active father, so. No, Kail talked about how it would affect looks and Creed. Like for Lincoln to be gone like during the summer. I don't know how Joe feels. I would be curious to hear how Joe feels. Where are we at? 450. Okay. All right. So we're gonna skip. This is just him kind of explaining how things work. Like every 3 years they gotta take another job, whatever. But now we're gonna jump up a little bit ahead. And listen to a little bit more.
Coach Eli?
No.
Okay. I mean, maybe it's for
No.
the best. You guys know what's in the best
Yeah,
interest of
no.
Eli, so I won't even
Lauren
go
won't
there.
let me anyway.
Maybe Lauren should coach.
Yeah, so she
That could be good.
she
That could
feels
be
what I
good.
feel.
That all being said, your time in Delaware has come to an end. And
Sadly.
so you're moving out of Delaware this summer.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? And what was the decision-making process there? Like, how did you decide where you're going, when you're going, et cetera?
How does it look like for me in like a professional standpoint?
Yeah, so you're going to continue recruiting, I'm
Yep.
assuming?
Yep. So
And
I'm
you're, okay.
Yeah. And basically what happens was we already kind of touched on it. My time was coming up. So it was like, okay, well, where can I go? What are my options? So Virginia came up, and after talking about it with Lauren, we felt like that was probably best case scenario. Didn't know what was going to happen with Lincoln. We thought worst case scenario, we're at least driving distance. We don't have to jump on a plane or anything like that. So it was, hey, take Virginia, or when your time does come up, when your 3-year mark hits, you're gonna get whatever's on the table.
So it could have been like Minot, North Dakota.
Yeah, it could have been California, whatever was on the table at that time. So I wouldn't have any. I would have to pick out of those whatever's on there.
Knowing that there could be an even closer base at that time. Like you picked
Yeah.
Virginia, but like you didn't want to risk whether it was a closer one or one that's even further away, right? Like if say when your 3 years came up, you could have been like,
Well,
oh,
it
you're
wasn't going
going
to be closer because so how it works is positions come out every month. So
Mhm.
you see who's applying, you see who gets those positions. So the Maryland and New Jersey's just got there. So I knew they had 3 years there, at least at a minimum, before
Okay.
those positions would open up again. So I was like, okay, well, that's taking me off the board for those. So what's left? And then it was like, well, Virginia's coming up. And I was like, okay, well, that's the next closest. That's probably best case scenario. So I didn't want to take that risk of waiting to the end of either deciding, hey, we're moving to wherever, or I got to get out. And I don't think getting out was an option for me.
Was this decision influenced at all by creating more distance between you and me, or Elijah and myself, and you and Lauren? Or
No,
was it
this
solely
is strictly professional work-wise. I mean,
Okay.
the military has done so many good things for all of us. I mean,
Mhm.
it pays for Lincoln's health insurance. It'll pay for some of his school when he gets there. I've been in for 12 years. I've worked too hard to get to where I'm at as far as rank and all that stuff, where I'm sitting at the table. And I'm really good at it. And
No, for sure. I don't want to dismiss that you're good at your job. I just didn't know if the thought process behind leaving earlier than, your 3-year mark was, okay, this would create distance between the families, basically.
No, the thought process, decision making was strictly, hey, I need to take my career into my own hands before they tell me this is all you got left.
Right, because
So
I
if
mean,
you
you
wanna-
add a plane ride in there. I mean, that would create a whole new
Oh,
situation
geez,
if you would have
custody
went
and all that would have been way different than what we came to. A plane ride would have just that would have
exacerbated any pain that we're already going through in
that would have been
this.
tough.
So when you let me know that you were going to Virginia, we sort of, I don't want to say went at it because I don't think we argued about it, but it was
No, we
definitely.
went at it.
Did we?
We went at it.
Okay.
She's like, all right.
As a parent, I don't need to tell you how busy you are. You already know. Your life is a meal to even allergy friendly is to raise the standard. Speaking of sleep, let's obsessed. I have to keep a perfect LAND
flavors and
It, but I don't think that there was going to be.
Sorry.
Back today. Angel Soft. Soft and strong, simple.
You don't think
You
so?
said it, not me. I don't think it could have gone any other way. Like, I
True.
don't think that yes, we went at it, but I don't think that there was going to be an easier conversation. Like, there was
That's
no
true.
way to make it any easier. So we disagreed, I think on several occasions about what was going to happen. And so,
Yeah, so like when I brought it to you, obviously the initial emotions and all that kicking in, everyone's angry. Okay, let's let it dust off. And then how'd you feel? Or what was your mind? What did you think? Because I told you basically I wanted Lincoln. I think I told you I wanted Lincoln for the school here. Or I might have not said that, but I told you I thought Lincoln was not better because this is a shitty situation. It's not like you have two shitty parents and it's a no-brainer, right? He deserved to be with this parent more than this parent, right? I feel like it was down the middle. I simply just took it as I thought my connection with Lincoln was
different.
a little bit more crucial at the age he's at to be with me. I don't want to say more important. It was more crucial to be with me now for the next 3 years or whatever than it was to stay. So that was my standpoint, and that's how I was looking at it when I approached you. How'd you feel?
I also felt that way. I felt like, given his age, because we started having this conversation when he was 10.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought process was, okay, this will be an entirely different conversation at 10 and 13. So my thought was, okay, if he goes, he gets stationed somewhere, Lincoln stays with me. And at 13, we would basically reevaluate the situation. And if he said, I want to go live with my dad, I just think it would be a different conversation. So that's sort of where we basically were thinking the same thing, in my opinion. And I think that both of us are valid in our feelings. I think both of our points are valid. I think that, and I agree with you that, I mean, Lincoln has only ever known 50-50. This has always been, and if you ever wanted a week on my time, I'd give it to you and vice versa. So we've always worked together in that way. And so when you're going to court for relocation and you have two parents that are always doing what's in the best interest of their children, and we don't really like co-parenting for us, I feel like, I don't want to say it's been easy. Because it hasn't been easy, but we always put Lincoln first. So when you have two parents that are both doing their very best, it's so hard. And I couldn't imagine putting that in a judge's hands. Like I couldn't. So when we were in Disney, Elijah and I took the kids to Disney, and when we had our, I guess it was like a case review or like a pre-trial, you and me with the judge.
Yeah.
And the judge was just like,
He was brutal. He was. I was very discouraged after that call. I'm not gonna lie. I was very discouraged. After that call, I was like, I think I told Lauren, I was like, this sucks. I'm not gonna get nothing. This judge is like, what is it? Well, me and you butted heads. Let's backtrack a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Me and you butted heads because you felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Lincoln shouldn't have been involved. Maybe what was it, like you didn't want me to tell him, or you didn't want me to, or you didn't want him to know, something like that.
I did not want you to tell him when you told him. And I thought that we were on the same page about telling him at the same, like we were going to be together when we told him. Mm-hmm. So when you told it, you were like, you emailed me and you were like, I'm telling him. I was really upset by that. Because we are so good, I just felt like if we were united about it, whatever that looked like, it would have just set a better example. Because I think at that point he thought that we were kind of going against each other, and I didn't know if he knew how to feel about it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want him to feel like, oh, when I'm at my dad's, I want to tell my dad. I think he wants to hear that I want to go with him, but then when I'm at my mom's, I think she wants to hear that I want to stay with her. And so that's what I was afraid of. I'll be honest with you. I think that is what set the judge off, that you told him.
Fair. Well, yeah, that's what he said. But where I was coming from with that was my path of moving forward with custody was going to be based off of his answer, right? And so if he would have said it was either school year or summer, because let's get that. I think both of our attorneys said, hey, there's no
other way to do this.
This is the baseline. So one parent's going to get school, one parent's going to get summer, and we'll figure out the holidays. So it was okay. That's at a minimum. So it was like, okay, Link, this is the situation. It wasn't if I'm moving, I'm moving. How do you feel about it? This is it. School year, where do you want to go? Because based off of his answer was going to be my driving factor of, hey, is this even a fight I'm going to put up? Or if he says, hey, I want to stay with my mom, okay, well then what am I fighting for? If you don't want to come with me, that's how I took. So if he would have said that, then I don't need it. Why am I going to spend $1,000 on an attorney and put this in a judge's hand? So for me, when he was like, no, I want to go with you, and it's hard. I get it. He's telling you one thing, he wants to stay with you. He's telling us he wants to go with us. And I can't imagine the emotions and feelings an 11-year-old is going through. So for him to say, hey, I want to go with you, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do everything I can. It's just a pain this is a feeling that it's a shitty feeling for everybody. And it sucks because he cries with me and he cries with you. It was the same, right? So he would go to sleep and I'm just like, hey, are you okay? And he'll just start crying and I want to go with you. And I know I'm doing, let me handle that. I'm doing everything I can where you just got to let it ride out. And so that was my driving force as to why I thought I needed to tell Lincoln. So, and then when we get with the judge, he was like, oh, well, why does he even tell him or something like that? I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And my attorney, no, how can you not, Lincoln's not Lux or Creed's age, right? I get that. If they're that little, but Lincoln's 11 or 10 at the time, whatever he was, how can you not get his opinion on it?
I didn't want to get his opinion on it at his age, even 11, because I do think that because he was breaking down to me, and not to put all of Lincoln's business out there, but he was breaking down to me about wanting to stay. And then towards like closer to now, not right now, but closer to now, I think he's torn because we're back to being okay. Like you and I are getting along, we're co-parenting, everyone's copacetic.
So he's torn with what do you mean?
I think that closer to now, because we haven't talked about it in a long time. I think that it maybe hasn't sunk in for him. Like he doesn't realize what's about to happen. But my apprehension about telling him at his age was that it was going to weigh in on him the way that it did, right? Like it played out exactly how I thought it would, which was that he was going to cry to you and also cry to me about staying and leaving. He's never had to make a choice, right? Like he's never had to choose between parents. And that was sort of, I think what the judge was getting at was like, we're putting adult decisions on him so young, right? Like it wasn't like asking a 13-year-old who's about to go to high school. It was asking, a 4th, 5th grader what they want. And I just think at that point, maybe we could have gone to him and say, hey, this is what we're doing, and not really given him the choice, because if he feels like the choice is up to him, he knows that he's going to disappoint one of us by not saying what one of us wants to hear. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
But correct me if I'm wrong. We couldn't get with him together because we didn't agree on what each other wanted. I can't remember. Like, I thought we argued
because
email. I don't, because I remember we couldn't tell them together because we weren't agreeing on something. I don't remember exactly.
I think it was like,
oh yeah, I think you.
So obviously I'm not going to play the full podcast. I feel like I probably played too much, and hopefully it doesn't get flagged, but I'll just spit all over my camera. So at the end of the day, it's a sad situation and definitely going to be devastating for Kail, Lincoln, Isaac. Why did I keep calling Javi Isaac? I don't know. I can see why this will be something that has had him super devastated. And honestly, like hearing them talk about it, how at night when he's at Javi's, he cries to Javi, but then when he's with Kail, he cries to Kail. He probably does want to go with both of them. Like he probably is in this position where he's like, I want the life that I have, where I have my mom and my dad. To spend a whole school year with one parent when you're used to spending every other week is going to be a big change for everyone involved, and it's very sad for him. I did link the podcast in the description box. At the top of the description box, it says to watch the complete episode. Click the link below or something like that. You can click it, and it's free to watch it, or not watch it. It's free to listen to it. It's very interesting. They talk about their dynamic and how this, like I said, how this kind of was a step backwards for them because they had they couldn't agree on what to do. She's like, no, he wants to stay with me. And Javi's like, no, he wants to go with me. And they tried mediation, like they have to go before a judge. And ultimately they ruled that he would stay with Kail during, the school year and then go to Javi during the summer. And they would revisit the situation in a year. So if he decided to switch his living situation, he could do that then. But oh my goodness, that's honestly super sad for Lincoln. And now imagine, Lincoln has been dealing with this news for the past few weeks. Kail's been dealing with this news for the past few weeks. And now the news that is very public that Elijah may have cheated on Kail. I mean, Kail's kids have social media. Isaac does. I'm sure Lincoln does. Now, maybe the other ones probably don't. They're probably too little. But Isaac is very active on social media. So you got Lincoln dealing with this. And now you got Lincoln probably hearing the fact that his stepdad stepped out on his mom. Oh, that's so sad. They got a lot going on in their family. And I'm sending them some positive vibes, some prayers, because I would not want to be in their position right now. I'm dealing with, a kid whose whole life is about to be flipped upside down and changed. And Kail actually said this on her podcast. She said something along the lines of she thinks it's important for Isaac to stay with her this year because he's at the age where like that bond is very important. Whereas if he was to go with his dad and they would spend a year apart, like would that affect their bond? And I'm like, I agree, but at the same sense, Javi's probably thinking the exact same thing, so. Oh yeah. Isaac has an Instagram, like he posts videos. He has a TikTok where he reacts to stuff concerning his mom. Possibly not. Deb says at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say that Lincoln will not be joining the military as an adult because of this is traumatic. It definitely is. Maybe distance will help their co-parenting though. They both seem to want the best for Lincoln. Are they on vacation right now too? They're not on vacation. Anyways, you guys, this is a lot. I know, right, Taylor? Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Anyways, you guys, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Listen to the full podcast if you want to. It's super interesting. Like I said, I have it linked below. Leave me your thoughts about the situation in the comment section below. Honestly, there's no good case scenario in this situation. Like Javi and Kail both said, There's like nobody wins here because this is just an impossible situation to where everyone's going to suffer and Isaac's going to suffer or Lincoln's going to suffer. I don't know what's going on with my head today. Next episode, her reaction. Oh, I know, right? Anyways, you guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you follow me here if you haven't yet. Subscribe to this channel. I'm on my way to 100,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, we have 460 people in here right now. I do see a few names that I'm not super familiar with. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and follow me on my other social media platforms. And we'll definitely be back Monday for sure. If I'm not on here sometime this weekend, definitely Monday. So make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys Monday. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Bye, guys.